this reminder of the power of love. I feel like people treat love as something so corny, but it really is like fundamentally what's going to save us. And love is an action, right? Um, yeah, so I was recently, a couple weeks ago, I'd gone out to Arizona to join the Apache stronghold. I originally came into relationship with the Apache stronghold through the work of the Poor People's Campaign, a national call for moral revival. Our most recent attempt at building a campaign to end poverty led by the poor. And I appreciate Adam and Freedom Church for just maintaining that relationship with the Apache Stronghold. The Apache Stronghold is an indigenous nation that's located in what's now known as the San Carlos area of Arizona. They are a nation that has been impacted by colonialism. They have been forced to live on reservations, which is another way of being segregated and, sort of put in the hole by the state. And after all that they've gone through in these, I guess, 500 years or so, their sacred land of Oak Flat, which is what they understand as a female mountain, and is under attack. It has already been taken by the U.S. state. It's located in what's now a national park. And in 2014, just to give a little background, in 2014, two senators, including John McCain at the time, snuck this rider or this little piece of legislation into what is known as a must-pass bill that would basically have a land exchange wherein the U.S. government would give the land that Oak Flat is on to this foreign mining company called Resolution Copper to engage in their destruction of the land for profit. It's really interesting. I feel like when I first heard about this struggle, it was a little difficult for me. I just assumed that, this is their land that they lived on. This is why they're fighting for it. And what's so interesting to me is like, it's not the land that they live on. It's their sacred land. It's where they hold their ceremonies, where they get their water from, where they have their, they get their medicinal materials from. It's where they hold their prayers, their sacred rituals, in particular the coming of age ritual for young women. And more importantly to them, it's Mother Earth. It's not about what they can get from the land itself, whether they live there or don't live there. It's their sacred land or not. It's about protecting Mother Earth. And basically, over the past 2 decades or so, this case has been turned over to the Supreme Court, which the Apache Stronghold is still waiting for the Supreme Court to hear the case. But in the meantime, Resolution Copper, this foreign mining company, although the Supreme Court still hasn't heard the case, they've tried to begin and have started in some ways to set up their operation on the land. And so a few weeks ago, one of the leaders, Dr. Winsler Noisy, had a dream of him engaging in a prayer run with one of the leaders that has been involved in the planned prayer runs that the Apache Stronghold has held for the last, I don't know, maybe a decade or so. And had this dream that the Apache Stronghold and folks that are in solidarity with the Apache Stronghold to save Oak Flat would run from Oak Flat Mountain to Phoenix in downtown to attend the district hearing, where hopefully, well, at the time it was hopefully that the case would be heard and their resolution copper would have to stop sort of setting up shop until the Supreme Court has heard their case. I've been on one of the plan runs. They do a run every year, and it's really, how we were talking earlier, love is an action. It's prayer as an action, with your body and your spirit, everything being given to and grounded in this cause. And usually folks come from these 4 directions to Oak Flat, the sacred land, and join together to pray for the future of Oak Flat. But this time we were going from Oak Flat to Phoenix. And I know I'm going on a little bit, but I wanted to highlight just a few lessons or things that I've just been thinking about from my experience in Oak Flat. I think one of them is this idea that I've picked up from leaders before of like the way you do one thing is the way that you do everything. And this was apparent in many ways, both on the side of the Apache Stronghold and on the side of, Resolution Copper. For the Apache Stronghold, as I said before, they consider, Mother Earth or the Oak Flat to be a female mountain. And what I thought was like really illustrative of this idea that the way you do one thing is the way you do everything is that, on the first day of our, that I was attending the run, every morning they begin with prayer, but on the first day I attended, I came in a day late, marked the beginning of the National Week of Action for missing and murdered Indigenous women and people. And to mark that day, we made, the Apache Stronghold helped make this connection between, how people treat the Mother Earth and how they treat the most vulnerable. And in this case, missing women, girls, and people who are Indigenous. And the sort of disregard for the lives of these women and the girls, and the ways that these cases go underreported or unreported or unresolved is indicative of the way that we treat Mother Earth and vice versa. And in the case of the Apache, like we started the day by honoring Mother Earth and also lifting up missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls. One, by marking ourselves with red body paint, which we put over our mouths to signify the way that there's so much silence around this issue. And then also how they started the day with the girls and the young children actually starting us off in this prayer run. I think another one is uniting across lines of historic division. And so, not only was the Apache Stronghold involved in this run, but they also brought in members and leaders of different Indigenous nations, some of which are nations that historically the Apache, the San Carlos Apache, through the disunity of the poor and dispossessed, due to the way that the United States has sort of pitted tribes against one another. And in the past, they've been manipulated to be at war and fighting with one another. They actually came together in solidarity around this issue, understanding that we're all connected in Mother Earth and we must all protect Mother Earth. That is the biggest thing. And so folks were coming together and uniting around that. I think also the leadership development, lifting up the voices of women leadership, and also the leadership of a local teacher who's, this white guy who works at the school that was formerly used as a school to sort of take away Indigenous culture from Indigenous young people. And now you have a teacher, you have leadership there who is lifting up the values of the Indigenous culture and instilling it in the students, bringing them, into this battle to save Oak Flat. And then just like this idea of, it being spiritual warfare. I think one is that Oak Flat is where they have their, sacred rituals and passages of their rites. So understanding the sacred, our faith, our religion, our culture, the way that we're, teaching our young ones and lifting up our young ones into understanding our history, where we've come from. And, also it's ensuring and securing the land for future generations. Was really a beautiful way in which they were engaging in this battle and protecting their culture and their history and their religion, so that it can be passed on to the future. And then another element that I learned, and I've just been sort of ruminating on, and thank you, Freedom Church, for letting me go on, because this is how I'm like just sort of processing. But Dr. Winsler, was telling the story of why dreams are so important. Again, we were brought together in this emergency prayer run because Dr. Winsler had this dream, had this vision of him running alongside this white teacher, this young guy, Cooper, along the passageway, along waters in the Phoenix area, aqueducts that were actually created by the indigenous people that were originally of that land, as a way to not only have reservoirs of water, but also it's a natural cooling system for the city. And how the U.S. government, in taking that land from the indigenous people, have also taken those aqueducts for their own use. And it has become, poison and barren because of the destructive ways that the land is being used, and the, role of runoff and whatnot. But Dr. Winsler was talking about why dreams are so important. And he told the story of his mother telling him as a young boy that, when you dream, these are the ways that you connect with the spirit realm, you connect with the ancestors and the spirits, and you hear messages around, what is needed for you to do, what your purpose, what your vision is. And as you get older, or, more closer to leadership, when you're up against a big enemy, like the one that they're up against, the devil, the demons, the evil spirits will try to cover you so that you're not able to connect directly with the spirit realm. And so he says, he's always asking for those around him, if ever they have a dream with him in it, or a dream about, something of the present that they feel like Dr. Winsler to know, that they should tell him. And they should tell him because it is through the people around us is how, when we're up against an enemy, we actually hear the sacred, and they're able to penetrate through the veil that, evil puts over you, so that you can't connect directly with the spirit. And there was just something so beautiful around, having collectivity and the need for having a community to keep you connected with the spiritual, to keep you connected with the sacred. And, something that I've just been thinking about is just like, well, when he shared this, was how do you know, who to listen to? Who are the right people around you? What are the dreams that you should take seriously? How do you know which is the right path? Or, and, one thing that kept coming to me was this song. And I was like, there's this song, and it's like, We Shall Be Known. And it came to me again when we were reading this passage, John 13:31 through 35. Y'all, I'm getting around to it. When reading this passage, because that's what Jesus talks about. He said how God will recognize us is through our love through our love for one another. It is our love of our community, the love of our people, that will illustrate that we are followers of this revolutionary, brown-skinned Palestinian Jew who went up against the Roman Empire with poor ragtag team of folks and ended up building a movement that we still follow today. And and I've been trying to just listen, to those around me for answers. And even tonight, I think it's so important that we say the mission of the Freedom Church every week, because I feel like every week I get something out of it. And, something in the mission statement, which identifies who we are and what it means to be a movement leader, and Freedom Church as a political home for movement leaders. We commit to realizing the abundant world God promises by identifying, developing, and uniting leaders who will build a movement to end poverty led by the poor. In this community and through our commitment to this struggle, we also seek to rediscover and share a vision and practice of religion that is rooted in truth, justice, and love. And we read this mission every week because that is how we identify ourselves to one another. And that is how we measure ourselves to our purpose. And the song, reading this passage and listening again to the mission statement, this song that I realized, Mary Hooks, a comrade from Movement for Black Lives and Stop Cop City in Atlanta, by the way. You only get what you're organized to take. Book tour is heading to Atlanta next weekend. But she shared this song with me. Every time I see Mary Hooks, she's always like, "Beloved, what song is on your heart?" And so we just always exchange songs. And so this song came to me. It's "We Shall Be Known." It's by Carisha Logan. I don't know. I'll put it in the chat so that y'all can listen to it in the future and learn more. But this song, this cultural organizer, is a part of Ma Muse, and wrote this song after a dream. I didn't even know all this, y'all. This all happened with them preparing for this Freedom Church night. But they wrote this song. She says, "I woke from a dream where two dear old musical friends, one who has recently passed, were beckoning me to come to my creative space. I followed them, their smiles and warm hearts asking me to come forward. I woke from the dream with the first part of the song, singing it through me. We shall be known by the company we keep." And so I want to share this song with you as I close out. All right. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle around, attend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now. Oh, what a time to be alive. In this great turning, we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning, we shall learn to lead in love. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle around, attend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now. Oh, what a time to be alive. In this great turning, we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning, we shall learn to lead in love. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle around, attend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time to lead ourselves into the whale. It is time now. Oh, what a time to be alive. In this great turning, we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning, we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning, we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning, we shall learn to lead in love.